Hello, and welcome to the Flash Hour Show.
Who are we kidding? This year it's gonna be terrible. Yep. Lockdown in Halloween. How on earth is this gonna work?
This is the true horror.
No.
Yep. It's like how that old song goes. This ain't Halloween, this ain't Halloween. Quarantine has us locked up tight. Ugh.
Well, do you know, maybe I can appreciate this Halloween to an extent because, as I told you before, when I used to trick or treat, I live in the middle of nowhere and had to knock on my own door. It seems like everybody's going to be using the same traditions as me this year. So.
Oh God.
You have suffered, now everyone else must suffer.
Yes.
We're so sorry, kids.
Yeah.
Oh.
Worst time of Halloween.
Yep. So, what is up, guys, and welcome to another spooky episode of the Fresh Air Show.
Yes.
Yep. Once again, we are joined by Michael, aka Emerald Soldier,
Hello there.
Hello again.
Hello.
and for those of you who've routinely watched the podcast, you'll know that we try to be suitable for all audiences. However, prepare to be warned because today's podcast, it will contain some dark themes, so enter at your own risk.
Yes.
So, I thought we'd do something a little different this Halloween, and I thought, why not we tell scary stories?
Yes.
Ooh.
Because if all of us are going to be stuck in our own houses at Halloween, we may as well celebrate it somehow.
Yeah.
So, everyone here has a scary story that we've gathered, so this should be fun.
Yep.
So, I am already raring to go with my scary story.
Myself.
Nice.
Now, you may think I'm all plush and huggable on the outside, but I actually do enjoy creepypastas.
Everybody loves a good creepypasta.
Now, just so you're aware, that's not an Italian dish. It's actually a series or genre, basically internet campfire stories. So, yep.
Urban legends and such.
So, I thought I'd find one that I think is short enough to fit in the podcast and is up there with one of my favorites. So, and just so you know, guys, feel free to interrupt at any time during the story if you want to talk about it. I won't judge.
That would kind of ruin the effect.
So,
So-
we're allowed to scream, is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Yeah. If we get jump scared.
yeah. So,
Percent down.
feel free to interrupt any time I'm telling the story just in case you want to bring up anything. So, here is my story that I've selected, and it's by. His username is AC Johnson, and it's called Doors. So, here we go. This is the story. I was adopted. I never knew my real mother. Rather, I knew her at one time, but I left her side when I was too little to even remember. I loved my adopted family, though. They were so kind to me. I ate well, I lived in a warm and comfortable house, and I got to stay up pretty late. Let me tell you about my family real fast. First, there's my mother. I never called her by Mom or anything like that. I just called her by her first name, Janice. Janice didn't mind at all. I called her that for so long that I don't think she even noticed. Anyhow, she was a very kind woman. I think that she was the one who recommended my adoption in the first place. Sometimes I would lay my head against her in front of the television, and she would tickle my back with her nails. She's one of those Hollywood mothers. Now, just stopping there for a moment, I'm guessing a Hollywood mother is like one of those women who, like, wants to appear rich in public, I guess.
Just long with the fingernails and stuff.
Oh,
So, I think that might be it. Anyway. Second, there's my dad. His real name is Richard, but he never really liked me much, so I began to refer to him as Dad in a desperate attempt to gain his affection. It didn't work. I think that no matter what I called him, he would never love me as much as his own child. That's understandable, so I really didn't press the matter. The most notable attribute of Dad was his unmoving sternness. He was never afraid to pop his kids when they did something bad. I found that out before I could use the restroom properly. He didn't hesitate to spank me. Well, I'm in line, and it's because of his methods. So, nowadays if you spank someone, it's technically counted as child abuse, so yikes. Poor guy. Anyway, lastly is my sister, little Emily. She was really strong when she was really young, when I was adopted. So we were about the same age, but she was slightly older. I like to think of her as my little sister, though. We got along better than any sibling could. We would always stay up late together and just talk. Well, she did a lot of the talking. I mostly just listened, because I loved her. It was a great setup that we had. We were short on bedrooms, so because I didn't want to sleep in the living room by myself when I was little, I had a pallet set up for me next to her bed on the floor. This is where I have slept since. So, what are your thoughts on this guy already?
kind of fishy.
I have theories, but I don't want to jump into that just yet.
Dudley?
I'd rather wait till the end to find out if I'm right.
Okay. But it was cool with me because I enjoyed being with her. I had always felt pretty protective of my little sister. Everything changed on a horrible Wednesday night. I was at home taking a nap when little Emily opened the front door. The sound of the door opening pulled me to a state of consciousness, and I walked from the room down the hall to the living room. That's when I first remembered it was Wednesday. I was never any good at keeping track of what day it was. Actually, I'll just go ahead and say it. My sense of time was horrible. But nevertheless, I knew it was Wednesday, because Emily had just come home from her church's youth group gathering. She walked in the front door and hugged me, and then was followed in by Dad and Janice. "You have a good nap," Janice said teasingly as she ruffled my hair. I just shook my head and snorted in a manner that clearly expressed that I was teasing her back. "Don't you snort at your mother like that," said my father, gruffly with authority. He shut the door behind him and hung up his coat. I was clearly joking, I growled under my breath. He must not have heard me because, I didn't feel him smack me. Emily then proceeded to our room, and I followed. She started telling me about her day. You know, usual teen girl stuff. But I listened so that she would feel better. After her summary, she suggested watching TV, and I obliged and jumped onto the couch as she was going for the remote. She rolled her eyes at my little brother-like immaturity and scooted me over and sat down. The TV turned on, and we watched it together until the sun went down. Emily was the kind of girl that, instead of watching cartoons and soap operas, would rather watch Discovery and Animal Planet and National Geographic. I like those too, so I didn't mind. Actually, those were the only channels that can hold my attention. So, it got late, and, and Janice walked up behind the sofa. "Emily, it's past your bedtime. Turn off the television and go to your room." "You too," she pointed at me. Emily turned off the program we were watching grudgingly and stood up. She started down the hallway to our room. As I followed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. We went to our room, and Emily turned off the light. Just as she did, I caught a flash of movement out the corner of my eye. It was out the window, but as soon as I redirected my line of sight to where the window was, there was nothing there. I still remained alert for my sister's sake. I laid there in the darkness, with nothing but the thin ray of light from the street lamp outside to illuminate the room. It wasn't much. Time and time again, I could have sworn that I had heard subtle noise just outside the window. A twig break, leaves crunching, clothes jostling, and all the while, I could smell a faint stench of sweat and blood. I kept my eyes open most of the night. The sounds outside subsided, and the smell left my nose. I began to feel at ease. But then, I heard a loud crash on the other side of the house, and I was up in an instant. "There's somebody in here!" I barked with extreme adrenaline coursing through my body. "Wake up! Wake up!" And Emily did indeed wake up. I ran into my parents' room. Dad was dead. Oh no. His neck was splayed open. I saw that the master bedroom was closed, and just before it, on the outside, was a man. A man. I don't feel comfortable calling it that. He was very large and rugged. He turned around and saw me, and that's when I saw him accurately for the first time. I won't forget it. His eyes were large and beady, and now wait, hold on, aren't they meant to be like opposites of each other? Large and beady?
Well, if beady can mean like more round as well, can't it? Like if
I always imagine beady is like tiny, so.
Yeah, I think it means just like really round and shiny looking, I suppose.
So, his eyes were large and beady and trapped with lust. He was styling a beard that was badly unkempt, with blood dripping off. His clothes were dirty and his face was cold. Just then I noticed the same horrid smell of sweat and blood from earlier, but this time it was overwhelming. He saw me. He saw me and grinned with a set of crooked yellow teeth. That smile threw me off. I thought I was going to die, but then he turned back to the bathroom door, completely unperturbed by my presence. I was terrified, and didn't know what to do. I just yelled and cried. I watched as he shouldered through the door that was Mom's only protection. I watched as he raised his large razor that he was carrying, but had obviously neglected to use properly. I watched as he sliced her open. I then heard something, the last thing that I wanted to hear. It was Emily's scream coming from behind me. That large monstrosity took away from my butchered mother. He stared at my little sister. I was distraught. He stood up and quickly started walking towards us. My sister turned and ran, and I was at a loss when he bypassed me and went straight after her. Why was she still in the house? Had she not assessed the situation and ran? Apparently not. And now I was alone. I ran after them both. I expected the man to kill her, as he'd done the rest of my family. But I was sadly mistaken. He grabbed her by the arm and jerked her in a way that would make her clear that he was in control. He dragged her through the house. I was making all the noise that I could, hoping and praying that someone would come to my aid. He mustn't take her, not her. As he passed me, I backed against the wall and whimpered in terror. Why? He didn't respond, except putting his free hand on my head and nodded. He gave another crooked grin, a very cold, unnatural laugh. I followed him to the door where he dragged my helpless sister. He pulled her out and slammed the door behind him. I'm now sitting in my house with my mutilated parents, shivering and whimpering in dismay. He's out there, doing who knows what to her. I would do something if I could, but I can't. I would chase after them in a heartbeat, but I can't. I sit here looking at the floor. I look down at my paws. If only I could open doors.
Oh,
And that's it.
I knew it.
That's right. The narrator was the family's dog the whole time.
Oh,
So, yep.
I kind of got that feeling when
that.
scratching the back with long nails. I was like, sounds like something they do with a pet.
Yep. So, yeah, I was really hoping you wouldn't have guessed it before I got to the finale because it's such a twist.
For that sort of thing.
So, what do you think of that?
nicely told.
Oh, it was very good.
So,
Creepy, but then that last line
Yes.
felt oddly comedic.
Hmm.
Like, if only I could open doors.
I was honestly just waiting for the gasps there, like, oh my god! But no, it was like, oh god, they're not gasping, I may as well end it off. So,
Now I'm just curious. The guy who patted the dog on the head. I'm wondering what breed of dog it was. Like it couldn't defend for girls. So what was it, like a poodle? Or was it like
well, it depends on how you raise a dog. Like, if you raise it to defend your property, it's going to probably act defensively, but if it's just a family dog, then it might just be as scared as us. So,
Fair point.
yep, that's my story.
That gave me goosebumps.
You're listening to The Fresh Air Show. So, who'll be next to tell their story?
Suppose I'll go.
Okay, Rowan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dan. This is one that Dad introduced to me just a little while ago in the form of an audiobook. It's a short story. It's a pretty good one. This is called The One Who Waits by Ray Bradbury.
Oh, I think I've heard that name before.
I think he does a few scary stories. But nevertheless,
Alright.
The One Who Waits. I live in a well. I live like smoke in the well, like vapor in a stone throw. I don't move. I don't do anything but wait. Overhead, I see the cold stars of night, and in the morning, I see the sun. And sometimes, I sing old songs of this world when it was young. How can I tell you what I am when I don't know? I cannot. I am simply waiting. I am mist and moonlight and memory. I am sad, and I am old. Sometimes I fall like rain into the well. Spiderwebs are startled into forming where my rain falls fast on the water surface. I wait in cool silence, and there will be a day when I no longer wait. It is morning. I hear a great thunder. I smell fire from a distance. I hear a metal crashing. I wait. I listen. Voices far away. All right. One voice. An alien voice. An alien tongue I cannot know. No word is familiar.
How alien are we talking about here?
Oh, you'll find out. You'll
Okay.
Oh,
One voice. An alien voice. An alien tongue I cannot know. No word is familiar. I listen. Send the men out. A crunching in crystal sands. So this is Mars. Where's the flag? Here, sir. Good. Good. If only you'd waited a few seconds, Dan.
Well, you have predicted my story, so I guess we're equal.
The sun is high in the blue sky, and its golden rays fill the well, and I hang like flower pollen, invisible and misting in the warm light. Voices. In the name of the government of Earth, I proclaim this to be the Martian territory, to be equally divided among the member nations. What are they saying? I turn in the sun, like a wheel, invisible and lazy, golden and tireless. Hey, what's over there? A whale! No. Oh, yes! The approach of warmth. 3 objects bend over the whale mouth, and my coolness rises to the object. Think it's good water? We'll see. Someone grab a lab test bottle in the drop line. I will. A sound of running, and then the sound of return. Here we are. I wait. Let it down. Easy. Glass shines above, coming down on a slow line. The water ripples softly as the glass touches and fills. I rise in the warm air towards the whale mouth. Here we are. You want to test this water, Regent? Let's have it. What a beautiful whale. Look at that construction. How old do you think it is? God knows. When we landed in that other town yesterday, Smith said there hasn't been life on Mars in 10,000 years. Imagine. How is it, Regent? The water. It's as pure as silver. Have a glass.
What, literally silver water? It was chrome.
I don't know. I think it's meant to be like a saying, like, I don't know. I doubt they would have drank pure silver.
Everything is chrome in the future.
Where was it? Pure silver. Have a glass. The sound of water in the hot sunlight. Now I hover like a dust, a cinnamon upon the soft wind. What's the matter, Jones? I don't know. A terrible headache, all of a sudden. Did you drink the water yet? No, I haven't. Not that. I was just bending over the well and all of a sudden, head split. I feel better now. Now I know who I am. My name is Stephen Leonard Jones. I am 25 years old, and I have just come in a rocket from a planet called Earth. And I am standing with my good friends, Regent and Shaw, by an old well on the planet of Mars. I look down at my golden fingers, tanned and strong. I look at my long legs and my silver uniform, and at my friend. Wrong, Jones, they say. Nothing, I say, looking at them. Nothing at all. The food is good. It has been 10,000 years since food. It touches the tongue in a fine way, and the wine with the food is warming. I listen to the sound of voices. I make words that I do not understand, but somehow understand. I test.
Hold on. I'm sorry, I can't help but think. That's just such a funny image. Like, I'll say words I don't understand. Scooby Dooby Shubba Jubba Llama Pop. Alright.
Daniel, please.
Sorry.
Suppose we have to keep something light in case it gets too scary. Okay. I test the air. What's the matter, Jones? I tilt this head of mine and rest my hand holding the silver utensils of eating. I feel everything. What do you mean? This voice, this new thing of mine says. You keep breathing funny, coughing, says the other man. I pronounce exactly. Maybe a little cold coming on. Check with the doc later. I nod my head, and it is good to nod. It is good to do several things after 10,000 years. It is good to breathe air, and it is good to feel the sun and the flesh deep and going deeper. It is good to feel the structure of ivory and the fine skeleton hidden in the warming flesh. And it is good to hear sounds much clearer and more immediate than they were in the stone deepness of a well. I sit enchanted. Come out of it, Jones. Snap to it. We've got to move. Yes, I say, hypnotized with the way the word forms like water on the tongue and falls with a slow beauty out into the air. I walk, and it is good walking. I stand high, and it is a long way to the ground when I look down from my eyes and my head. It's like living on a fine cliff and being happy there. Regent stands by the stone well, looking down. The others have gone murmuring to the silver ship from where they came. I feel the fingers of my hand in the pipe mouth. It is deep, I think. Yeah. It is called a soul well. Regent raises his head and looks at me. How do you know that? Doesn't it look like one? I've never heard of a soul well. A place where waiting things that once had flesh. Wait.
You said the title.
Wait, I say, touching his arm. The sand is fire and the ship is silver fire in the hotness of the day. And the heat is good to feel. The sound of my feet on the hard sand, I listen. Sound of the wind and the sun burning the valley. I smell the smell of the rocket boiling in the noon. I stand below the port. Where's the Regent? Someone says. I saw him by the well, I reply. One of them runs towards the well. I'm beginning to tremble. A fine shivering tremble, hidden deep but becoming very strong. For the first time I hear it, as if it too were hidden in the well. A voice, falling deep within me, tiny and afraid. And the voice cries, "Go, let me go!" And there's feelings as if something's trying to get free. A pounding of labyrinthine doors. A rushing down dark corridors and up passages echoing and screaming. Regent's in the well! The 5 men are running, all 5 of them. I run with them, but now I am sick and the trembling is violent. He must have fallen. Jones, you were here with him. Did you see? Jones? Well, speak up, man. Jones, what's wrong? I fall to my knees. The trembling is so bad. He's sick. Here, help me with him. The sun? No, not the sun, I murmur. They stretch me out and the seizures come and go like earthquakes. And the deep hidden voice in me cries, "This is Jones. This is me. That's not him. That's not him. Don't believe him. Let me out. Let me out." And I look at the bent figures and my eyelids flicker. They touch my wrist. His heart's acting up. I close my eyes. The screaming stops. The shivering ceases. I rise, as in a cool well. Relief. "He's dead," says someone. "Jones is dead." From what? Shock, it looks like. What kind of shock, I say. And my name is Sessions. And my lips move crisply, and I am the captain of these men. I stand among them, and I am looking down at a body which lies cooling in the sand. I clap both hands to my head. "Captain? It's nothing," I say, crying out. "It's just a headache. I'll be all right. There, I whisper. It's all right now. We'd better get out of the sun, sir." "Yes," I say, looking down at Jones. "We should never have come. Mars doesn't want us." We carry the body back to the rocket with us. And a new voice is calling deep within me to be let out. "Help! Help!" Far down in the moist earthenworks of the body. "Help! Help!" In the red fathom, echoing and pleading. The trembling starts much sooner this time. The control is less steady. "Captain, you better get in out of the sun. You don't look too well, sir." "Yes," I say. "Help," I say. "What, sir?" I didn't say anything. "You said help, sir." Did I, Matthews? Did I? The body is laid out in the shadow of the rocket, and the voice screams in the deep underwater catacombs of bone and crimson tide. My hand jerks. My mouth splits and is parched. My nostrils fasten wide. My eyes roll. "Oh, poor help! Don't let me out! Let me out, please!" I say, "What, sir?" "Never mind," I say. I've got to get free, I say. I clap my hand to my mouth. How's that, sir? Said Matthews. Get inside, all of you. Go back to earth, I shout. A gun is in my hand. I lift it. Sir, don't! An explosion. Shadows run. The screaming is cut off. There's a whistling sound of falling through space. After 10,000 years, how good it is to die. How good to feel the sudden coolness, the relaxation. How good to be like a hand within a glove that stretches out and grows, wonderfully cold, soft hand. Oh, the quiet and the loveliness of gathering, darkening, death. But one cannot linger on. A crack, a snap. Good God, he's killed himself, I cry. And I open
And a
my
pop.
eyes wide. And what?
Snap, crackle, and pop.
Really, Daniel?
You missed it out. You missed out a really good opportunity there.
I could have, but I was getting real into it.
Continue.
Excuse me while I just get a sip of water. Goodness.
Yeah, it takes a lot out of you. So,
Where was I?
something about dying in space.
Oh, yes, I remember. Good God, he's killed himself, I cry. And I open my eyes wide, and there's the captain laying against the rocket. His skull split by a bullet, his eyes wide, his tongue protruding between his white teeth. Blood runs from his head. I bend to him and touch him. The fool, I say. Why did he do that? The men are horrified. They stand over the two dead men and turn their heads to see the Martian sands and the distant well where regent lies lolling in deep waters. A croaking comes out of their dry lips, a whimpering, a childish protest against this awful dream. The men turn to me, and after a long while, one of them says, "That makes you, Captain Matthews." "I know," I say slowly. Only 6 of us left. Good God, it happened so quick. I don't want to stay here. Let's get out. The men clamour. I go to them and touch them now, with a confidence that which almost stings in me. "Listen," I say, and touch their elbows or their arms or their hands. We all fall silent. We are one. Oh, no, 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 no. And their voices crying deep down and gone into prisons beneath exteriors. We're looking at each other. We are Samuel Matthews and Raymond Moses and William Spaulding, Charles Evans and Forrest Cole and John Summers. And we say nothing, but look upon each other and our white faces and shaking hands. We turn as one and look at the well. "Now," we say. "No," 6 voices scream. "No!" Hidden and layered down and stored forever. Our feet walk in the sand, and it is as if a great hand with 12 fingers were moving across the hot ethos. We bend to the well, looking down. From the cool depths, 6 faces peer back at us. One by one, we bend until our balance is gone. And one by one, we drop into the mouth and down through cool darkness into the cold water. The sun sets, the stars wheel upon the night sky. Far out, there's a wink of light. Another rocket is coming, leaving red marks on space. I live in a well. I live like smoke in a well, like vapor in a stone throat. Overhead, I see the cold star of night and morning, and I see the sun. And sometimes I sing old songs from the world when it was young. How can I tell you what I am, when even I don't know? I cannot. I am simply waiting.
Well,
Nice.
wow.
Well, that was interesting.
Was,
I
was,
like
did,
it.
did I just hear a prequel to Among Us? The imposter went on the ship and starts converting everybody.
Oh, no.
Oh my.
Yeah. Ray Bradbury, did you see that was by?
That was Ray Bradbury, yes.
I'm pretty sure I heard that name before. I think he's the guy behind Something Wicked This Week Comes. So
Probably.
So yeah, I think
That was really good. I couldn't help but think of the Waters of Mars
Oh,
in
yeah.
Doctor Who as
oh
well.
god,
Water always wins.
one of
Oh, yeah.
one of the scariest Doctor Who episodes of all time.
Definitely. And on topic. So,
So yeah, pretty good.
Thank you.
Ah,
You are listening to the Fresh Air Show.
so who's next?
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be me.
Yes.
So, I have 2 stories to tell, but they're considerably shorter, so it'll be about the same length, I imagine.
Okay.
So, this very special story from many a year ago. There was once a boy on a school trip, and they went to an old museum called Milestones. It had many things: tributes to the war, tributes to old vehicles, all with an indoor museum. They were travelling around the museum, and the boy took notice of the wax figures in old garb. There were just men in typical old-fashioned wear. There were remakes of old buildings. The boy turned around an alley, and down this alley he could see numerous things. On the wall behind him there was a wax figure of a ginger cat on a brick wall. And there, rather humorously, a man sat on the toilet reading a newspaper.
That
Boy can-
sorry. Whose idea was that to put it in a museum?
The boy continued round the museum, having a nice time. And before long, it was actually getting dark. The school trip had lasted quite a long while. And as he tried to regroup with some people, he soon realised he was on his own. Nobody around to talk to. And then he saw a clock on the wall. 9 p.m. The museum was shut, and he'd been trapped inside.
Mm.
Quick, no, not a precursor to Night at the Museum. Just
Dang it! You beat me to it.
I thought you might say something like that. Anyway, back on topic. The boy began to panic, but he figured, this is exciting. I can explore more of the museum, as I have not seen all of it yet. And the boy soon found himself back at the same alley he'd been looking around. It was silent. Nothing could be heard. Nothing noteworthy, except he looked over his shoulder for the wax ginger cat. It had gone. Nothing was there. And the boy found this strange. He turned round looking for the man that had previously been sitting on the toilet, but it was now vacant. Nobody was there either. I realised how that's...
Nice choice of words.
The unusable tributing fashion toilet. I've taken the fear out of the
It
story.
was a good choice of words, Dudley. If only it was in a cubicle, that would have been perfect.
Yeah. But the boy began to panic. This was very strange indeed. He ran round the museum, and suddenly, as he turned the corner from that alley, he found a statue gazing back into his eyes. A big grey statue of what seemed to be a gargoyle or demon. Just a beard, a moustache, and this screaming face looking at him. The boy found this very strange, and he was scared. And the next morning, the boy was never seen again.
Hmm.
And that's the end of that story.
So where did you get it from?
Okay, so this was a story that I came up with years ago, and basically, with a lot less fancy words. So me and my cousin went to, we used to go out on this coach trip with my grandparents and stuff, and there is actually a museum near us called Milestones that has all this stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night we decided to tell each other scary stories. And I told that story, but I told that story a little too well and scared ourselves.
Wow.
And so we were on our way home on the coach, and we were like, kind of terrified myself. And then to make ourselves laugh, we realised on the window of the coach, it looked like there was this. We could make out this sort of funny face on the watermarks on the coach window, and then that seemed to entertain us for the rest of the trip home.
Wow.
But when you told me to come up with a scary story, I thought, that seems noteworthy, so I'll see how it comes across now. And
However, was there actually a bearded gargoyle and a wax figure sitting on a toilet?
There was a wax figure sitting on the toilet with the newspaper, but there wasn't a gargoyle. I just made that bit up. So, but it was my fault for using the words vacant and stuff like that. I knew I was going to muck it up eventually. So
It's an interesting choice of words, Dudley. Like,
yeah, that's the one way to put it. But
Yeah.
so this other story I actually heard from a YouTube video not long ago, and it's considerably scarier because it's told by somebody else. So
okay.
so I'll tell you what I can remember of it anyway. So apparently there was, I'm going to say it was a girl sleeping in her bedroom, but every night her sister, or relative at least, would sleepwalk and come into their room.
Was she a rat or a cat or something?
No.
I'm just basing it off of my story. Like, turns around and her mother is a parakeet or something.
So, well, I've already told the story wrong, but because it's actually the dog. The dog would walk around at night, and it would make a lot of noise. It's one of those two things, anyway. So they had the idea of giving the sister bells on her ankle or the dog bells on her collar, and they started doing that. And one night, the girl could hear bells outside of her room, and it was late at night, so she decided to investigate the noise. And she went to her bedroom door, looked down the hallway of her room, looking around, and nothing could be seen. And the bells had been quite loud outside her room. And she figured it must have been the dog or her sister. And she turned around and realised that her sister / dog was sleeping underneath her bed, hadn't been moving at all. So where had the bells come from? And that was a true story, apparently. So
It's kind of interesting.
Are you? Maybe the neighbors had the same idea with their cat or something. Because cats often wear like a little bell around their neck.
Yeah.
I mean, Rowan, have you ever worn a bell like that?
I can't say I have.
Yeah, it's just wherever they go, the owners are bound to hear it, I guess. So those are your two stories, Dudley.
unfortunately, yes.
Nice and short.
At least it balances out the first two.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'm Randy Newman, and you're listening to the Fresh Air Show. I'm Randy Newman.
And finally, to round this spooky podcast off, Michael here has a bit of a scary story himself.
Well, it's more of a scary experience than a story, so it's more true and everything.
Yep.
So, I was starting to get into the paranormal and everything, and I was really loving it and everything. So, knowing me, I decided to find out if the paranormal was true, and I want to believe in it and everything. So, I went to get ghost equipment and everything, and came EMF meter that...
You actually got an EMF meter?
Yes, it's right here.
Wow, that's genuine ghost hunting tech there.
Yes, it is. Sadly, the battery ran out, so I can't use it now. So,
Or it's been cursed.
Oh
Yeah.
God. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I really hope it's not cursed, but you know. So, once I had everything, I was trying to find a location to test out. And my first location for ghost hunting, I decided to go to a castle that was quite abandoned, obviously in ruins, and is known as Acton Burnham, and in Shropshire. And I don't know much of the history on the castle, but pretty sure kings used to be there and everything, and yada yada yada, the basic story. But I don't know what haunted that place, so I decided to test it, and obviously I did record it to see if I could capture anything on my camera that I don't hear with my own ears.
So, what state of abandonment are we talking? Is it just no people in it at all, or is
No,
it?
it is a place to visit. You are allowed to go, but it's like a ruined castle that's for people to visit and everything.
Right.
So, but knowing me, I obviously didn't want to go at daytime because there'll be people there and it'd be quite popular. So I decided to go at nighttime, alone by myself with no friends whatsoever.
Jeez.
And all I had was a backup for my parents waiting for me and everything, so I can get out before the gates lock, so I don't get locked in.
I like how your parents are just okay with this, like, oh my son's about to open a gateway to the underworld. Nothing unusual here.
Well, I had to persuade them, so you know. So I got my equipment down on like the stony path, and I didn't. I felt a weird vibe, like normal people do, and I thought something was watching me in the windows and everything. And but before you go to the actual castle, you gotta walk through this forest to get there. So yeah, it was a tough place to go through, but I obviously survived. But
Well, did you? Maybe you're a ghost now.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm possessed. You don't know. So I laid down my equipment on like a stony bit, and I started to ask whatever haunts this place is here, like basic questions, and I didn't get anything until I asked it a bit more. I started to get a bit impatient, so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna maybe make the whatever here a bit mad, see if this works. Like maybe get it to come here and
Yeah,
really
because
angry. And that works, you know.
because if there's one thing that will get people talking, it's to make them angry. So
Yeah. So, surprisingly enough, it worked. I was nowhere near my device. There was no electrics around it. And when I started to ask it a question, it started flashing red like crazy, like non-stop. And I got the invigilator out, and I told it to stop, and it stopped after I told it to abandon it. And like it was really responsive, and I tried to answer some questions if it's what's his name and everything, but I obviously couldn't get much out of it. So I was just waiting patiently again, and it was just like my thing was going to red every single time, and it was just crazy. Like I never expect it actually to work. So I got a bit scared, and I decided to run my knife through the forest, and I felt like I was being followed behind. And when I got back into the car safely, me and my parents both had this weird vibe that someone was sitting in the back of on the chair, and we thought we were being followed.
Mm.
Yeah.
I like the idea of you sitting there, like, asking it what his name was and stuff, and the ghost is probably on the other end saying, "Ask me yes or no questions!" And it's making the dial go red, like, "Ask me yes or no questions!"
What's my favorite color? Stop saying red.
It's red!
I mean, I didn't know much about the paranormal. I didn't know how the things work, so I was all new to it. But I just never expected to work because I thought it wasn't going to work, and then it actually flashed red and everything. I was all new to it.
Who
So
knows?
yeah, it's like, it's saying, "Ask me yes or no questions," and you're running off, and it's like, "No, come back! Come back!"
Or,
I was enjoying our conversation.
or maybe the reason why it wasn't talking was maybe it was one of the castle horses. Like, it could have just been an animal ghost and it couldn't talk, and it was just going like, "Brr, mind your own business." So yeah, I did know about your paranormal investigations because of your alternate channel. So,
Yep.
so yeah, we have a ghost hunter in our crew, so
Yes.
that's a first for anyone.
I wonder if he'd ever be able to find the spirit of Snake Star.
Emerald, do you think maybe you can contact Falcon one day?
I could try, I hopefully. If I have my thingy to actually work, because it's not working.
Yeah.
I can try and use alternative solutions though.
Yep. Ah, so yeah, hopefully that thing isn't cursed in any way.
No, I really hope not. And I really hope I haven't been followed back to my house.
Yep. Well, who knows? That could either be a good thing or a bad thing. At least you'll have someone to talk to in future videos.
That's true.
Ah. So yeah, that's basically all of our stories telt. So, is that a real word, telt?
Oh,
Told. I have the brain fish of a memory. So, yeah, thanks again, Michael, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
So, yep, with wave 2 of the coronavirus taking shape, remember to follow the rules and keep up the good fight, and we'll see you guys next time. So time to say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
okay.
I just have one last note to make quickly.
Oh no.
I was re-listening to one of our podcasts recently, and I know that Rowan's not going to appreciate this, but I did something truly scary this week,
Uh-oh.
which I never usually do. I started Christmas shopping already.
Oh, no. Well, to be fair, Dudley, my mum actually said, before December comes along and things get a bit too hectic at the end of the year, you may as well start making up your Christmas lists now, while places are still vacant. So,
Yeah, exactly. That was my way of thinking.
Understand planning.
Yes.
so yep. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Yes.
I can't do
Have
it
fun
that
not
long.
for chicken.